Shocking. The dark truth my son whispered before I woke alone in the garage at midnight. It was a night thick with silence, a cold hush that wrapped around the neighborhood like a tight, suffocating blanket. The clock's hands seemed to crawl, each tick echoing louder than a whisper, pulling me deeper into the eerie stillness. That's when I heard it, a faint, trembling voice, barely above a whisper, cutting through the darkness. "Dad, it's not safe." Those words slithered into my mind, a chilling warning from my son, who had been fast asleep just moments before. I jolted upright, heart racing, the thumping in my chest loud and urgent. There, nestled among half-assembled projects and forgotten tools, I found myself in the garage alone at midnight. It reeked of oil and something sharper, more metallic, that made my stomach churn. Shadows danced menacingly in the corners, flickering like ghostly figures as the overhead light flickered and buzzed, adding to the supernatural feel. Nothing should have been out of place, but the air carried a weight and unsettling tension that prickled at the back of my neck. It felt as if unseen eyes were watching, waiting. That I scanned the small room, eyes darting from discarded furniture to the rusty bicycle hanging awkwardly from the ceiling. Nothing moved, but that didn't ease the gnawing feeling inside me. The garage door creaked slightly, as if it were whispering secrets of its own. The hairs on my arms stood erect. Why was I here? Why had I woken up alone? And what was it that my son knew? Was he dreaming, or had he seen something? What truth lurked in the shadows just out of reach? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. It was then that I heard a soft thud, a sound that seemed out of place in the oppressive calm. My heart pounded in my chest, echoing the urgency of the moment. I took a hesitant step toward the door, fingers trembling, dread bubbling in my throat. There was something in the depths of the garage, something begging to be discovered. Yet I felt a pull within, urging me to turn back. What kind of danger lay ahead? The truth, if I found it, might change everything. I was already too deep to back out now. What did my son know? And why did it feel like I was unraveling a path meant to stay hidden? The soft thud broke the stillness once more, reverberating through the garage. Goosebumps raced along my arms. It was a deliberate sound, almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat in reverse. My instinct screamed at me to flee, yet a more powerful urge compelled me to investigate. I stepped forward, cautious and deliberate, as the darkness swirled around me like a living thing. The light flickered again, casting long shadows that warped and twisted. I ran my fingers along the edge of the workbench, seeking reassurance from the familiarity of tools and memory. But there was nothing comforting about this night. "Dad," another whisper. This time it was softer, more desperate. Was I losing my mind? Or was my son really calling me? My pulse quickened as I realized the sound was coming from behind a pile of old newspapers and discarded boxes. I could feel panic rising, clawing at my throat. What did he want me to see? I hesitated, then moved to the pile. The edges of the boxes were dust-laden, remnants of a life I barely recognized. A sudden gust of wind rattled the garage door, making the metal creak ominously. I paused, listening for anything beyond the growing storm outside. Silence fell once more, wrapping around me in a suffocating embrace. Taking a deep breath, I brushed the debris aside, revealing a small rectangular shape. It seemed out of place among the clutter, a forgotten notebook, its cover weathered and worn. I lifted it, feeling a strange weight in my hands, as if the truth contained within was ready to leap out. As I opened it, words written in a child's scrawl caught my eye. "They're coming for us, Dad." The heavy fog of dread thickened. My son's drawing sprawled across pages filled with dark figures and shadows, their features blurred. I flipped through the pages feverishly, my heart racing. I saw them in the backyard, read another note, scribbled in a frenzy. "Please believe me." The clock struck midnight, and a deep silence enveloped the garage. My heart hammered in my chest, the implications crashing over me like a tidal wave. Had my son known of real danger? And what did they represent? A sudden noise jolted me from my thoughts. A rustle from the far corner of the garage. It was followed by another thud, more pronounced this time. I froze. Whoever or whatever was here with me wasn't about to let me go without a confrontation. Instinctively, I scrambled to my feet, the notebook slipping from my fingers and landing with a dull thump. I took a defensive stance, my hands balling into fists, the pit deep within my stomach twisting in anxiety. "Who's there?" I shouted, voice echoing around the enclosed space. The response came not in words, but in a low, guttural growl. A figure stepped into the dim light, half hidden by the shadows, its outline monstrous and shifting. My throat constricted, the air thickening. I was no longer alone. Someone stood in the garage with me, and the truth I had feared was about to unfold. What did my son see? And why was this entity lingering in the dark? The moment suspended in time shattered as I prepared to face what came next. The figure loomed larger, its presence absorbing the dim light, casting an oppressive shadow that dimmed my ability to think. I could hear my heartbeat echoing in my ears, frantic and frantic. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but the chilling grip of terror rooted me to the spot. "Show yourself." I forced the words out, barely recognizing my own voice. It cracked under the weight of fear. For a moment we stood in a silent standoff, the entity lurking just out of reach of the flickering bulb. Then it moved, slithering closer, its limbs elongated, bending in ways that should not be possible. The low growl morphed into a haunting whisper. "You're too late, they already know." Panic surged, a tidal wave sweeping through my veins. Who was this they? My mind raced. My son's drawings flooded my thoughts, the dark figures, the fear captured in those innocent strokes of a crayon. But I was drowning in uncertainty, gasping for clarity. "What do you want?" I choked out, gripping the edge of the workbench, my knuckles white. The creature paused, its head cocking slightly, as if considering my question. It moved again, gliding forward, and in that split second I caught a glimpse of its true form. Its eyes glowing, unfathomable, brimming with an ancient sadness that sent a jolt of anguish through me. It was not just a monster. It was something more, something tormented. "You must listen," it rasped, voice echoing like a wind through a hollow tomb. "They've been watching. Waiting. Waiting." The word hung between us, a thread pulled taut. I took a cautious step back, inching toward the garage door. The storm outside raged on, but it felt trivial compared to the tempest brewing in this room. "Your son knows," the thing continued, twisting its elongated fingers. "The things he saw, the things he drew, they're alive. And they're hungry." The chilling realization crashed down upon me like a flood. This was not just some twisted nightmare. This was a warning, a desperate plea from my son caught in the crosshairs of something otherworldly. "Where is he? What do you know?" I shouted, my voice breaking. The creature seemed to recoil, a flicker of pain sparking across its features. "You must act quickly," it urged, desperation lacing its tone. "The night is when they come for him and you." The weight of its revelation dropped like an anchor in my chest. I couldn't just stand there, frozen by fear. I needed to protect my boy. I needed to make sense of this chaos. Before I could process the next moves, a cacophony erupted. A series of loud, guttural howls flooded the air, sending a chilling shiver down my spine. They were outside, prowling. "Now," the creature urged, its voice rising with urgency. "Find your son before it's too late." In that moment, clarity pierced the darkness. I had to escape the garage, confront those lurking outside. I could feel no more hesitation. I charged towards the door, pushing against the weight of dread that threatened to consume me. But as I flung it open, a flash of movement caught my eye, a shadow moving through the wind and rain. I couldn't tell what I was seeing, the darkness blending everything together. Was it real? "Dad!" A scream followed, echoing with heart-wrenching clarity through the storm. Had my son come back for me? Or was the darkness once more closing in, ready to claim us both? The world spun as I crashed into the night, the air thick with terror. I could sense the presence lurking, and I summoned every ounce of strength to fight back. Yet in this moment of panic, the lines between reality and fear blurred, leaving me teetering on the edge of the abyss. What awaited outside? What had my son unleashed? And could I save him before it was too late? The storm raged on, and I was left wondering if the true nightmare had just begun. The wind howled aggressively, whipping around me as I burst through the garage door. I barely noticed the cold rain drenching my clothes or the mud squelching beneath my boots. All I could focus on was the voice that had echoed through the storm. "Dad, where are you?" I screamed, forcing my voice to break through the chaotic noise. Shadows twisted and danced in the darkness, taunting me. I squinted against the downpour, heart racing, every fiber of my being desperate to locate my son. In the distance, a glimmer of white caught my eye. Was it the light of his t-shirt? I ran toward it, each desperate step grinding the anxiety heavier in my chest. The shadows thinned, revealing chaotic outlines of twisted trees and a churning sky above. But then I heard it again, a howl, deep and bone-chilling, reverberating through the night. "Andrew!" I called, voice hoarse. The sounds of the storm faded momentarily, replaced by a haunting silence. And then suddenly I saw him. He stood maybe 20 feet away, illuminated by a burst of lightning. My heart leapt. Relief surged through me until I noticed the expression on his face, wide with fear, eyes darting in every direction. "Run, Dad!" he yelled, but it felt wrong. I could see shadows enveloping him. They were creeping closer, curling around Andrew like sinuous tendrils. My instincts screamed at me to bolt toward him, but the energy of the night trapped me in its clutches. I didn't fully process it until it was too late. A shadow loomed before me, and the world twisted in a sickening whirl. "Don't turn your back!" Andrew shouted again. The creature from the garage materialized before me, its elongated limbs silhouetted against the brightness of the storm. Its glowing eyes locked onto mine, pulsating with an eerie light. "You can't save him," it rasped, voice slicing through the chaos like a dagger. "He belongs to them now." "No," I shouted back, fury fueling my voice. "You can't take him." I surged forward, ready to fight, but suddenly the shadows exploded, grotesque figures emerging from the very depths of the night. They surrounded Andrew, their forms barely human, twisted faces and gnarled limbs that contorted in a grotesque dance. I felt bile rise in my throat. They were tangible, hungry, longing and desperate. "Dad!" Andrew cried again, thin and trembling, but the sound was swallowed by the storm. "Flee!" the creature insisted, a hint of desperation creeping into its rasp. I was torn, 1,000 emotions roiling within me. I had to save Andrew, but the shadows pressed inward like a vice. They were closing in, hungry for a feast. Summoning all my strength, I charged at the entities swarming around my son, adrenaline surging through my body. "Get away from him!" I shouted, fists clenched, ready to fight even the very darkness itself. The moment I lunged forward, a wave of energy surged. I felt the presence of something more powerful. The shadows jerked back as if stung, and for a split second, I saw the hunger in their eyes twist into confusion. Maybe, just maybe, I could drive them away. "Andrew! Run to me!" I shouted, heart pounding. Hope flickered inside me, a candle in the night. My son hesitated, his gaze locked on the encroaching darkness. "No! They'll get you!" he yelled back, terror dripping from every syllable. I could feel the shadows shifting, angry, desperate now, and I sensed an approaching storm of malevolence. "Run!" I bellowed again, channeling every ounce of fear and love I held for my son. But did he trust me? As the shadows writhed, one reached out, and I could feel the knot of despair tighten around my throat once more. Would I lose him forever? Had I failed already? Then a stark silence enveloped us, the storm pausing just long enough to let me question what kind of father I was. What if I couldn't save him? In that heartbeat of uncertainty, the shadows surged forward like a tidal wave charging at my son. The question loomed large in my mind as I tried to grasp onto whatever glimmers of hope remained. Could I possibly fight the nightmare of my worst fears? But the answer started to slip away as the shadows closed in, and I realized this moment would define everything. And just beyond the darkness, a whisper, a chilling echo hinted at what was yet to come. The shadows lunged as one, a ghastly swarm that writhed and twisted, eager to claim their prize. I surged forward, arms outstretched, desperate to reach my son. Lightning crackled above, illuminating the madness around us, horrible faces frozen in hunger, mouths parting to reveal jagged teeth that shone with a sickly light. "Andrew, I'm coming!" I yelled, but my voice was drowned out by the thunderclap that followed the flash. The darkness seemed to consume the light like a ravenous beast. I sprinted, every muscle straining as I fought against the shadows. My heart hammered wildly in my chest, the fear that clutched my throat felt almost physical. A vice squeezing the very breath from my lungs. Dad, no. Andrew's voice was raw, filled with terror, and I could see him being pulled by the malevolent tide. I could feel the darkness clinging to my legs, dragging me back, desperate to keep me from him. I stumbled, falling to my knees in the slick mud. Hold on. I grunted through clenched teeth, pulling on the remnants of my strength. I couldn't let panic consume me, not now, not when Andrew was in reach. The energy surged again, an unseen force pulsing through the air, brushing against my skin. I felt something shift, something ancient in that moment. Glancing back at the creature, I asked, "What do you want?" The shadows halted at the sound. I saw its glowing eyes narrow, a flicker of surprise running across its obscenely elongated face. "You think you can bargain?" It hissed, and I felt a wince run through me. "His spirit must feed." "No." My voice rang, steadying as a wave of purpose washed over me. "I will not let you take him." Even as the words left my mouth, I felt gravity shift. The shadows flickered uncertainly, their grip faltering. Andrew's shaky voice threaded through the storm. "Dad, you have to stop them." I turned, glimpsing the terror on his face as he fought against the night's grasp. "Please, you have to believe." Somewhere deep in the whirlwind of chaos, I felt a surge of power thrumming through my veins, but this power wasn't mine. It was a plea, a call for help from an unseen ally. I could not falter. "Andrew, grab onto me," I shouted, determination igniting my being. I planted my feet firmly in the muck, channeling every ounce of love I held. "Whatever happens, we do this together." With that, I lunged toward him, feeling the shadows recoil slightly as I surged forward with renewed strength. My fingers brushed against his as he reached for me. But just as he was about to latch onto my hand, the shadows erupted, a cacophony of anguished wails and whispers. I felt fear rush over me like a cold tide. It clawed at my resolve, slipping through my fingers. "Stop!" I roared, and for a signal moment everything stilled. The shadows froze in place, faces contorted with agony. A visceral rage consumed me. In that electrifying calm, I suddenly grasped the core of my fear. It was my love for Andrew that held power. I planted my resolve in the ground. "Release him." The darkness shrieked, a sound so terrible it threatened to shatter my sanity. Andrew's eyes widened as the shadows screeched in response, a violent turmoil brewing. Just when it felt like all hope was collapsing, something started to happen. The shadows began to twist, contorting back and retreating as I stood defiantly in the storm. The ground rumbled, and a blinding flash of light burst from my chest, illuminating the monsters around us. "Dad!" Andrew cried again, and as I turned to him, I saw a clarity in his eyes I had never witnessed before, a flicker of hope amidst terror. But just then, right at that moment of revelation, another dark figure, twisted and larger than the rest, pushed through the chaos. My heart sank as I felt the air grow colder. I needed to act quickly. Would this new monster undo everything we had fought for? Was our moment of safety just an illusion? The darkness swirled around us one last time, and as it began to close in, I knew the real fight was just beginning. The new figure loomed out of the chaos, towering over everything, a monstrous silhouette that obscured any remaining glimmers of hope. Its eyes glowed a menacing red, piercing through the gloom like two molten embers. I felt the temperature drop even more, ice creeping into my bones, stealing my breath and my will. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice shaking slightly but fueled by desperation. The shadows writhed around me, sensing my fear, growing bolder, whispers clawing at my ears with allegations against my courage. The towering figure laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "I am the darkness you've been avoiding, the truth you refuse to see." It surged forward, tendrils of shadow gnashing at me, and I flinched, barely avoiding their grasp. I couldn't let it take me. "Andrew!" I cried, my heart pounding as I turned back to him. Panic gripped his face, a mirror of my own dread. The shadows were getting closer, almost tasting his essence. The bond between us remained as the only light left in this unending darkness. I can't hold on," he wailed, fighting against the pull of the night, his fingers straining toward me. "Yes, you can," I yelled, the strength in my voice surprising even myself. I stretched out my hand again, praying for him to trust me as I summoned every ounce of conviction that I could muster. The darkness swirled like a tempest, winds howling around us, yet my resolve sharpened. "What do you want?" I shouted again, the question now tinged with a kind of fury. "You've taken so much already." The creature seemed to pause, its grotesque face turning toward me. "You think you can save him? Love can't unravel what has been woven into his spirit. You're too late." Each word dripped with disdain, a venomous taunt that clawed at my heart. But that dread only intensified my need to act. "You don't know me," I replied, each word a promise. "A father's love," it sneered, "is a feeble thing against the might of the shadows." Suddenly, a searing light pulsed from within me once more, pushing against the darkness, igniting a fire within my chest. I could feel Andrew's spirit weaving into mine, our bond intensifying with each flicker of light that emerged. It was a flicker of hope, fierce and unapologetic. "Andrew, you're my son. We don't give up," I yelled, feeling something deep within me awaken. The shadows lunged toward us again, but this time, they met a wall of light, the love I bore for my boy refracting and fracturing their advance. "Believe!" I shouted, and I saw it. The glimmer in Andrew's eyes pulsed like a heartbeat, growing stronger. The darkness wrapped around him began to retreat. With renewed desperation, I focused, drawing upon our connected spirits. The towering figure howled in anger, thrashing its shadowy limbs, but it was no match for the burgeoning light between us. The ground beneath us began to quake, each tremor shaking awake something sleeping beneath our feet. But in that moment of resilience, I noticed something creeping into view, a glint of silver slicing through the blackness. My heart raced as I gasped, recognizing the familiar outline. Could it be? No, my mind whirled, confusion battling with the hope igniting within me. The shadows shrieked, their fury boiling over, scrambling to overpower our growing light. With each heartbeat, the silver edge became clearer, illuminating a path amidst the chaos. "Dad, what is that?" Andrew yelled, his voice bridging the distance between us. I wanted to shout back, wanted to reassure him, but I was mesmerized by the sight before me. The truth was surfacing. Could this be the key to shatter the darkness once and for all? As I reached for it, a horrific rumble exploded around us. The shadows writhed, thickening as if sensing their doom. I felt Andrew's spirit surge against mine, a shadow of doubt whispering in the growing tempest. And then, just as the silver object came within reach, the ground shook violently, ripping apart at our feet. "Hold on, Andrew." But as I clung tightly to that one glimmer of hope, I didn't know if it would be enough. What had I awakened beneath the storm? Would the light save us? Or would the darkness consume us forever? The ground heaved beneath us, cracking open like a storm-tossed sea. Time seemed to blur as shadows lunged, desperate to pull Andrew into their suffocating embrace. My heart raced, every thud echoing like a drum signaling a fight I could hardly comprehend. "Dad!" Andrew's voice cracked, the sheer terror mingling with a flicker of hope. It ignited within me, surged through my veins. I had to believe. In that instant, I grasped the silver object glittering in the murky depths, a short sword, an heirloom that had been passed down through generations. The handle was cool in my palm, but the reality of it sent a jolt of warmth pulsing through me. A surge of fierce determination replaced the icy dread. This blade had battled shadows before. It was imbued with a history, a promise of resilience. I brandished it towards the swirling darkness, fueling it with the love I felt for Andrew. "We will not be taken." The words roared from my lips, fueled by the burgeoning light of our connection. The figure's glowing eyes narrowed into slits, its wrath amplifying. "You think that will save you? You are foolish to resist." But I could feel it. The shadows hesitated at the edge of the blade's glow. My grip tightened as I felt Andrew tugging at the threads of our bond with a force that pushed back the encroaching darkness, amplifying my strength. "Trust me," I commanded, directing my focus towards the figure. I stepped forward, thrusting the sword into the darkness, hoping to pierce through the reality of its twisted domain. The shadows screamed in outrage, swirling like a cyclone around me. Their black tendrils lashed out in furious desperation, seeking to extinguish the flickering flame rising between Andrew and me. Something cracked within the dark, a fissure spilling out light as bright as the sun. The shadows shrieked, writhing in agony. I could feel the warmth radiating from the blade. This was the truth, the love that could forge a path through even the deepest abyss. Together. I shouted, urging Andrew to hold on. I could sense him at my side, his spirit intertwining with mine, illuminating the dark corners of this nightmare. Then came the roaring wind, the howling of tormented spirits caught between worlds. My pulse quickened, the crescendo of our battle reaching a fever pitch. But even amidst the turmoil, I caught a glimpse of something delicate in the cave of shadows, the truth, shimmering just out of reach. What horror lay behind it? What had been sealed away for so long? With one last rallying cry, I plunged the sword deeper. Light exploded outward, casting away the darkness. I saw silhouettes shifting, and then the howling faces of the lost emerged, born from guilt and sorrow. No, the towering figure shrieked, clawing to reclaim its lost power. You are nothing without the shadows. The darkness reared back, but together with Andrew we pushed forward, hearts racing, souls intertwined. But then the ground beneath us started to crumble further, pieces of the fissured earth dropping into an unseen abyss. I felt panic claw at my throat. Would this newfound strength hold? Dad, what is happening? Andrew's voice trembled with fear. This is our moment. I yelled back, fervently believing that our love could conquer even the direst of obstacles. As the chaos swirled, I felt a tightening in my chest, an unbearable truth trying to break free. But just as I thought we could escape, old memories flooded in, jagged and potent. They danced in front of my eyes, bloody echoes of a past I never wished to face. Andrew, I choked, the horrors clawing at my heart. What if the darkness, what if it's not just out there? The shadows laughed, a guttural sound that vibrated through the air. You have awakened the truth, and there is no place left to run. I stood at the edge, teetering on the brink of despair while clinging to the thrumming light. The truth whispered of my own shadows, a revelation I could hardly accept. Would facing this darkness free us? Or was I dragging Andrew into deeper despair? The ground shook violently beneath us once more, like thunder ready to split the air. And just when I thought we might fall into endless night, I caught the briefest glimpse of clarity amidst that chaos, an answer buried deep within the shadows. What would that truth reveal, and how would it shift everything we thought we knew? The world spun, black tendrils slipping through the cracks of reality, dragging with them all my fantasies of safety. I could barely breathe. The shadows, relentless, clawed at our resolve, and Andrew's pale face flashed in my mind, fear etched across his features, begging for reassurance I was uncertain I could give. Focus on me, Andrew. I shouted, my words almost lost in the chaos swirling around us. Focus on the light. The sword vibrated in my hand, almost alive, as if it could sense the urgency of our situation. I drew upon every ounce of love and courage I had. Yet the ground fell away, a chasm of despair threatening to swallow us whole. Hands shaking, I steadied my grip on the blade, resolute. Stay close. I called out as the fissure yawned wider beneath us, pulling us in different directions. I could hear Andrew's breath, quick and shallow. He was scared but fighting to hold on to our connection. I could see them then. The sorrowful faces of the lost, the ones trapped in the darkness all along. They reached out, whispers echoing like an eerie song. Let us in, they murmured, their voices a cold caress. Join us now. I yelled as the memories forced their way through the fog of my consciousness. Old fears clawed at my mind. I saw images of my life flash before me, the moments of shame, the mistakes I buried deep. Each misstep, a shadow of my own creation, more grotesque than I'd ever imagined. Andrew stumbled back as the shadows lunged, reckless and hungry. Help me, he cried out, voice cracking with each plead. I felt it, that familiar lump in my throat, the weight of despair. But amid it all, a thread of hope sparked bright. The sword reacted, humming with energy, responsive to my will, tied as it was to our love. I lunged forward, not fully understanding the intent behind my movement, but propelled by sheer determination. Together, I shouted, and Andrew mirrored my resolve, charging at my side, bravely embracing the chaos. Even with the darkness eating away at the ground, our connection surged, wrapping us in luminous threads of light to fight back the encroaching horror. Just then, the towering figure roared, its voice a tempest of rage. Your bond is nothing. You are weak apart. But in that moment, I knew the truth. It was not just the shadows that threatened us. It was my own fragility. I had to face the parts of myself I feared the most. The failures, the regrets, they were all wrapped up in my battle with the darkness. Dad, look. Andrew shouted, pointing to a new fissure opening beside us, light spilling through like molten gold, illuminating the shadows. That's our way out. Before I could respond, the ground trembled violently, as if it were alive, and the sheer weight of our fears threatened to pull us back. The shadows recoiled, sensing their defeat, but some reached desperately for Andrew. "Don't let go," I yelled, bringing my sword crashing down toward the darkness. Each strike pulsed with everything I felt: love, sorrow, regret. With a final clash, as light exploded around me, I felt my body grow weightless, the world shifting and bending, merging into something new. But in that moment of clarity, I glimpsed the faces of the lost around us, clearer than ever. "We called to you for a reason," they whispered, their echoes wrapping around me. "You know what you must do." Andrew's hand slipped from mine, and I turned, fear flooding through me as he was yanked away into the abyss. "No," I screamed, my heart shattering. But through the chaos, one question flickered like a candle in the storm. Could I really save him, or was I about to plunge into a darkness that had claimed so many before? The shadows seemed to shift, curling back like a tide retreating. "Where are you going?" I screamed into the void, and from the depths came a hissing laughter, reverberating in my bones. They knew I was teetering at the edge, weighed down by the ghosts I had yet to confront. I could almost hear them say, "You cannot run from what you are." As the ground split open, I was left with an agonizing question, echoing through the darkness. Would exposing my own truth break the chains binding us both? Or would it destroy everything? The light poured through the fissure, blinding and warm, everything the darkness was not. I could barely think, the resonating laughter still worming its way through my mind. Panic surged within me as Andrew vanished into the void, my heart pounding like a war drum. "Andrew!" My voice cracked, raw with desperation. I stepped closer to the swirling blackness, the shadows clawing at me, trying to pull me in. Fear gnawed at my edges. I could not let him go. The whispers swelled around me, a cacophony of lost souls. "Face the truth," they sang, their voices rising and falling like waves. "Face the truth," I gritted my teeth, heart racing out of control. The sword pulsed in my grip, seemingly fighting against the pull of despair. It was more than a weapon. It was an extension of my heart, a beacon of everything I was fighting for. With every ounce of will, I forced a step forward, moving toward the crack of light. "Don't look back," I told myself, though every instinct screamed otherwise. I could already feel the shadows lapping at my heels, eager for my surrender. Yet how could I abandon my son? "Focus," I mumbled, closing my eyes briefly to steady my breath. The warmth of the light coaxed me, urging me forward. "I'm coming for you, Andrew." My mind raced back to every moment I had let him down, the missed recitals, the hidden arguments. Those regrets lunged like the shadows, but they also fueled me. They reminded me of why I had to confront this darkness instead of running. "Join us," I heard again, but the allure was losing its power. I opened my eyes, determination flooding my veins. With a fierce swing of the sword, I carved through the grip of despair, the blade tearing the maelstrom apart. It was a strange dance, light meeting shadow, defiance surging through me. That's when I saw him, a flicker of Andrew's face, caught in the cracks of the darkness like a fragile photograph. His eyes wide, brimming with fear and courage, longing for me to pull him back. "Dad!" he shouted, and it felt like the sky itself was collapsing. "Hold on!" I bellowed, thrusting my sword forward, aiming for the light again. But the darkness reacted violently, breaking around me like a tempest. A massive figure loomed overhead, its form both menacing and mesmerizing. "Your fight is futile," it boomed, and the very fabric of the air thickened with dread. "You are nothing without your son. You will lose everything." I hesitated, an icy chill creeping along my spine. My breath came heavy, constricting my chest. The truth settled like lead within me. Could it be true? In a world this chaotic, would I be nothing without him? But then I felt it, the love we shared, brighter than any fear. "We are each other's strength," I shouted, summoning every ounce of that bond, shoving aside the shadow's grip. With each strike of the sword, energy surged through me, hot and fierce, illuminating the chasm between light and dark. "Stop!" I cried out, and the chaos froze, shadows recoiling as if struck. "You will not take him." The shadows trembled. The figure roared, and the abyss throbbed in defiance. But now I had hope, a flicker of light igniting deep within my chest. I could save him. I surged forward, heart racing, ready to jump into the chasm if I had to. But a blaring alarm rang out, deafening me. Everything shattered around me. The ground started collapsing. No! I screamed, panic igniting my every nerve. I had prepared for darkness, but now all I could see was the abyss swallowing our chance. And in the depths a voice echoed back. A chilling reminder whispered through me. Face what you fear. Just then, a new fissure gaped at my feet, dark and inviting. What was waiting on the other side? Would I find Andrew? Or was this simply another trap? My heart thudded as shadows danced, daring me to take that step into the unknown. With my thoughts spinning like a cyclone, the question hung heavy in the air. In the face of all my fears, would I take that leap or lose everything? The shadows closed in, pressing against me like a weight I couldn't ignore. My heart pounded harder than a war drum, each beat reminding me of the urgency. Andrew's frightened face flickered in my mind. I'm coming, I shouted, my voice echoing in the empty space. I had to push forward. The sword felt alive in my hand, pulsing with the energy coursing through me, fear and love intertwined. Face the truth. The whispers taunted, their voices wrapping around me like ropes of despair. But I had faced truths before. I would not back down now, not when Andrew needed me the most. Steeling myself, I lunged into the darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. As I stepped through, the tempest of shadows swirled violently, their cries intertwining with the storm. But I held fast. The warmth from the sword radiated through me, sparking the courage buried deep within. You can't take us, I bellowed, swinging the sword. With each strike, the shadows recoiled, almost as if they felt the pulse of the light emanating from our bond. Do you not see? The towering figure sneered, its voice a menacing hiss. This fight is futile. You are lost without him. A deep chill ran through me, but deep down, I felt a flicker of defiance igniting in the depths of my soul. No, I shouted back, carving through the darkness around me, pushing against the shadows with pure, unyielding focus. Our love is our strength. I heard Andrew's voice, weak but steady, amplifying my resolve. Dad, don't stop. I need you. In that moment, as I swung the sword again, I realized something. The shadows weren't just a reflection of external fears. They embodied everything that haunted me. My regrets, my failures as a father, they were all swirling in the murky depths. But here in this chaotic fight, I could choose to face them or let them claim me. Let us end this, I cried, plunging the sword into the swirling mass of darkness. Light exploded from the blade, a blinding radiance spilling out and cutting through the shadows, illuminating everything around us. For the first time I saw them, the faces of the lost, twisted with sorrow, their haunted eyes meeting mine. They reached out, pleading for release. No, the towering figure roared, but I held my ground. With every fiber of my being I swung the sword again, pouring all my love and regret into that attack. You will not take my son. The darkness throbbed in response, splintering and crackling like ice breaking under pressure. The shadows flailed, desperate to reclaim their hold. You cannot stand alone. I took a step back, feeling Andrew's spirit brushing against mine, his courage mixing with my own. Together, I yelled, and for the first time, I felt the solid grip of our bond tethering us against the chaos. Andrew, called, locking eyes with my son. Reach for me. With trembling hands he stumbled forward, grasping the air that separated us. Dad! His voice rang out like a lifeline, pulling me through the storm. I could see him just beyond the raging darkness, his fear giving way to trust. As the shadows lunged at us, I pushed the sword down harder, and an immense wave of light erupted from its steel, expelling the darkness in all directions. The figure screamed, its form disintegrating into tendrils of black vapor, shrieking as they vanished into the night. And for a brief moment, the storm silenced, a calm washing over the chaos. Join us, the lost voices called, but the shadows were fading. I felt Andrew's small hands finally grasp mine. A connection grounded in love, strong and unyielding. Are you okay? Did they? My words caught in my throat as he threw his arms around me, relief flooding through us both. I thought I lost you. His voice cracked with emotion, tears mingling with the rain. No way am I letting you go, not now, I chuckled softly, pulling him tight against me. In that embrace, the remnants of darkness scattered like smoke carried by the wind. The air around us felt lighter, filled with the scent of fresh rain and new beginnings. As we stood there, holding on to one another, something shifted in the atmosphere. The cool wind became gentle, and the storm clouds parted to reveal starlit skies above. The shadows that had plagued us were no more, dissipating before the light of dawn. Did we do it? Andrew asked, eyes wide with amazement. I knelt beside him, brushing the wet hair from his forehead. We faced it together. Always together. The horrors of that night began to fade, leaving only warmth and hope. Under the expansive sky, I felt something inside me shift. I would be the father my son needed. The mistakes of the past would no longer chain me. They would be stepping stones to a brighter future. Come on, I said, standing up and offering him a hand. Let us go home. Together we walked beneath the starlit sky, each step forward echoing freedom and a promise of new beginnings. As the world around us transformed into dawn, we embraced whatever came next, a journey untethered by fear, fueled by love. This was the moment of our liberation. Now, dear friends, this is your moment too. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that lie ahead. You need to subscribe now. Smash that like button for support and leave your reactions in the comments. Let me know your theories about the ending. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because it's time to bring the light together. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.